Hi everybody, welcome back to Speaking of Cocktails. I'm David, and we're back for a special episode on location at Mordecai in Chicago, Illinois. Once again, my guest is Kris Peterson, the spirits archivist here. Today we're doing another cocktail shootout, and we're doing our versions of the Vieux Carré.
Hi, my name's Kris Peterson, and I'm the spirits archivist and general manager of Mordecai. Today we're going to be mixing up one of my favorite classic cocktails of Vieux Carré. Slight twist on it, I'm going to be getting rid of the Cognac and subbing it for cast strength Armagnac. We're going to build in the round today, so we'll start with the smallest ingredients first and work up. We like to do that in the bar so that if we make a mistake, we're not wasting the expensive stuff. So we'll start off with 4 dashers from a dasher bottle of Peychaud. Then we're going to go 4 dashes from Angostura. We're going to do a bar spoon of Bénédictine, 1 ounce of Cocchi di Torino, 1 ounce of Dartigalongue XO, and 1 ounce of cast strength Willet for Year Rye. Counterintuitively, we're going to do a light stir here, even though we're using higher proof spirits to preserve some of the action from the cast strength and also to not over dilute the oak profile in the Dartigalongue. And there's my version of a Vieux Carré.
So my build is the exact same as Kris's Vieux Carré, but I'm keeping things a little bit more traditional. We're starting with 1 ounce of rye. I'm using Wild Turkey 101. 1 ounce of cognac, 1 ounce of Punt E Mes, and a bar spoon of Bénédictine. 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. I have a smaller dasher bottle here, so we'll want to use 4. And the same amount of Peychaud. Add ice and stir. I served mine on the rocks. And that's my Vieux Carré. All right, so we're here with our Vieux Carrés, and Kris, I thought it was fun that we had the same build, the same ratios on this one. I went rocks, you went up.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where they play. I mean, those changes, like you said, kept the ratios the same or negligible, but it's really the 2 base spirits, right? The rye, I went a little bit higher proof with Willet 4-year cast strength rye. You went classic Wild Turkey 101.
Yep.
And then I went with that more rustic, wood-driven profile of an XO Armagnac, and you did one of my favorite cocktail and cognacs, the 04 by Pasquet, which is really great.
Yeah, so I'd say let's start with mine, because I think that's a little bit more what people are used to.
Perfect.
So let's start
Cheers.
there. Cheers. That's a Vieux Carré.
It's why it's one of my favorite classic cocktails, right? You get, from that cognac, you get the fruit right off the bat, builds into a nice spice profile. Everything's balanced, cleans up with the addition of those bitters at the end.
I went with the Punt E Mes on this one. I tend to like bitter stuff. I like to lean that way without being overly bitter. It actually isn't an overly bitter cocktail, so that just adds a different kind of level to this one, Yeah,
and I think it was a really smart choice on your part too, because Punt E Mes, in addition to the elevated bitterness, also pops some bright fruit for me that I think is really the cognac's riding, right? So that it's keeping that fruit profile. When we try the next one and we see the Armagnac at play and a less fruit-forward vermouth with Cocchi, I bet we'll see that being some of the variants.
Yeah, well, with that, let's go to it. Let's do it. Yeah, the Cocchi there is really different.
It is, and I think that Willet rye is a little bit more herbaceous. Wild Turkey rye is closer to barely legal rye, so it'll have a higher corn ratio. Willet's going to have a little bit higher rye content. So you get that herbaceousness, you get the wood and the spice from the Armagnac. This leans a little more wintry, where yours leans a little more fall, where you still got some of that fruit influence, and this is more wood and spice.
The woodiness comes through more than I even expected it to. It starts out on the front, but then, kind of on the back, you still get that bitterness, kind of fruit-forward thing. Surprising at how different that is, and that woodiness really comes through. I mean, the Armagnac was an interesting choice.
I mean, Armagnac's a great crossover. We started as a whiskey-focused bar, but we've really expanded to more of an all-encompassing spirits bar at this point. Armagnac's been the fun one for us to take our guests on that ride. They came in for the large bourbon collection, American whiskey collection. Armagnac's an easy crossover because it has a higher wood influence than Cognac, so you're getting that kind of oak structure that people expect with bourbon. This leans more into, I think, probably a bourbon palate than your version, which I think...
I would say so as well, yeah. For a person who's kind of an old-fashioned drinker, go for this. Someone who's more of a Manhattan drinker, go for mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing, the same build, same basic components, makes a big difference.
100%. I think you could confidently pour your build, even though it has American whiskey and it has rye, which is gonna have a lot of crossover with bourbon. I'd feel very confident with somebody who said they don't normally enjoy bourbon cocktails pouring this version of the Vieux Carré,
Yeah.
but not my version. If they weren't and there's no bourbon in my version,
Right.
but if they're bourbon averse or oak adverse, really, which is what we're saying at that
Right.
point, steer clear of mine. Definitely lean into yours.
So those were our Vieux Carrés, everybody. Thank you again, Kris, for having me at Mordecai here. I really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for having me. Don't like and subscribe. See if that works, the reverse psychology.
I still think it's funny that we did the same ratios, you know what I mean? That was
Right.
gonna be my go-to. Like,
It's a classic build, right?
and I appreciate you giving me the fancier glassware here, Kris.
You deserve it.
I don't know why I deserve it. That is really, really good. You're tied. You're tied.
Oh, every time.